Today, in this video, we'll be talking about the number one mistake that keeps traders broke forever. If you do this, you will never be profitable in trading. I know that sounds harsh, but you need to hear it. Because most traders are not failing by accident, they are failing by design. Not because the market is impossible, not because trading doesn't work, but because they keep repeating the exact behaviors that guarantee they will lose. And the worst part, most of them don't even realize it. They think they just need a better strategy, a better indicator, or a better entry. But the truth is much deeper than that. Profitability in trading is not about what you add, it's about what you stop doing. And today, we're going to break down the exact habits that if you continue doing them, will make sure you never become profitable in trading. Not maybe, not sometimes, never. Let's start with the first one, trading without a defined edge. This is where almost everyone begins, and unfortunately, where many people stay. You open a chart, you see price moving, maybe you throw on a couple of indicators, maybe you watched a video earlier, and now you feel like the market is going up. So you enter. No real reason, no data, no proof, just a feeling. And that right there is not trading, that is gambling. A professional trader does not enter the market because something looks good. They enter because they have a clear, defined edge, something they have tested. Something that has shown over time that it can produce profits. If you cannot clearly explain why you entered a trade in a way that could be repeated 100 times, then you don't have an edge. And if you don't have an edge, your results are random. And random results in a market that charges spreads, commissions, and slippage, that's a guaranteed loss over time. You might win a few trades. You might even feel like you're improving. But long term, you're going to lose. Because they confuse activity with progress. They think that because they are trading every day, they are getting better. But if you're repeating random decisions every day, you're not improving, you're reinforcing bad habits. Now let's talk about something even more dangerous, risking too much per trade. This is one of the fastest ways to destroy your account, and yet, it's one of the most common mistakes. You take a trade, and instead of risking 1% or 2%, you risk 5%, 10%, maybe even more. Why? Because you want to make money faster, because you want to recover losses, because you feel confident. But here's the problem. Trading is not about how much you can make in one trade, it's about how long you can stay in the game. Let's say you lose 50% of your account. Now you need 100% just to get back to break even. Think about that. One mistake can double the amount of work you need to recover. And most traders don't realize this until it's too late. They blow account after account thinking the problem is their strategy, when in reality, it's their risk management. Even the best strategy in the world will fail if your risk is too high. But a decent strategy with proper risk management can be profitable. This is why professional traders focus on survival first. Because if you can't stay in the game, you can't win. Now let's talk about something that destroys traders slowly. Not accepting losses. This one is psychological. You enter a trade, it goes against you, and instead of accepting the loss, you move your stop loss. You tell yourself it will come back. You hold, you wait, you hope, and sometimes it does come back. That can happen. Because now your brain learns the wrong lesson. It learns that ignoring your rules works. But eventually the market will give you a trade that does not come back. And that one trade will wipe out weeks, maybe months of progress. A losing trade is part of the business. It's normal, it's expected. But turning a small loss into a massive loss? That's a choice. And it's a choice that guarantees you will never be profitable. Now let's talk about overtrading. This one is subtle because it feels productive. You're taking multiple trades. You feel like you're working hard. But in reality, you're just lowering your standards. Not every moment in the market is an opportunity. In fact, most of the time, the best decision is to do nothing. But that's hard, because doing nothing feels like missing out. So you force trades. You enter setups that are not really there. You take trades out of boredom, frustration, or the need to feel active. And every extra trade you take without a real reason is just increasing your chances of losing. Professional traders are selective. They wait. They let the market come to them. And sometimes, that means taking one trade a day, or even one trade a week, because they understand that quality always beats quantity. Now let's talk about chasing the market. This is where emotions take control. You see a big move happening, prices moving fast, and you think, I'm missing it. So you jump in, late, right at the worst possible moment. And what happens? The market pulls back. You get stopped out, and then it continues in the original direction without you. This is one of the most frustrating experiences in trading, but it's also one of the most common, because humans are wired to chase. We don't like missing opportunities, but the market punishes urgency. The best trades don't feel rushed. They feel planned. They feel calm. If you feel pressure to enter, that's usually a sign you shouldn't. Now let's talk about something that keeps traders stuck for years. Switching strategies constantly. This is the illusion of progress. You try one strategy, it doesn't work immediately, so you switch. Then you switch again and again. You go from indicators to price action to smart money concepts to whatever is trending on social media. And every time you switch, you reset your learning curve. You never give any strategy enough time to prove itself. You never collect enough data. You never develop real skill. Because mastery requires repetition, and repetition requires consistency. Every profitable trader you see has spent months, even years, refining one approach, not 10, one. Now let's talk about data, or more specifically, the lack of it. Most traders do not track their performance. They don't know their win rate. They don't know their average risk to reward. They don't know which setups work best. They just trade and hope. But hope is not a strategy. Without data, you cannot improve. You cannot identify what's working and what's not. You cannot make informed decisions. You are just guessing. And guessing in a competitive environment like trading, that's a losing game. Now let's talk about focus. If your main focus is making money, you're already in trouble. Because money is emotional. When you focus on money, every trade becomes a test. Every loss feels personal. Every win feels like validation. And that emotional attachment leads to bad decisions. You start forcing trades. You break your rules. You try to control outcomes. But profitable traders focus on process. They focus on executing their plan. They focus on consistency, because they understand that if the process is correct, the money will follow. And finally, let's talk about expectations. If you think trading is a quick way to make money, you are setting yourself up to fail. Trading is a skill. And like any skill, it takes time. It takes practice. It takes failure. You will lose. You will make mistakes. You will doubt yourself. That's part of the journey. But if you expect instant results, you will take shortcuts. You will ignore risk. You will chase outcomes. And you will lose. Not because trading doesn't work, but because your expectations are unrealistic. Now here's the truth. If you continue doing these things, trading without an edge, risking too much, not accepting losses, overtrading, chasing the market, switching strategies, ignoring data, focusing on money, and expecting quick success, profitability is not just unlikely, it is impossible. But here's the good news. The moment you start removing these behaviors, everything changes. You don't need a perfect strategy. You don't need to predict the market. You just need to stop doing the things that are holding you back. Because trading is not about being right. It's about being consistent. And consistency comes from discipline. So if you're serious about becoming profitable, start here. Not by adding more indicators, not by finding another strategy, but by fixing your habits. Because in trading, what you don't do is just as important as what you do. And sometimes, the difference between losing and winning is simply avoiding the mistakes that everyone else keeps making. If you want more trading content like this, subscribe to the channel.